Welcome back to UEC Chronicles, an initiative of the UEC Graduates Association. I am Anish, and this is part 2 of our podcast with Commodore Jayaprakash. Let's continue where we left off previously, with the Commodore telling us about his career in the Indian Navy.
I did a long stint at a place, that particular center is now known as CABS. CABS, that is Commodore Bureau of Sailors. That agency looks after sailors right from recruitment till retirement. That means from the day from the civilian street a sailor joins the Indian Navy, his records commence in CABS. When he retires, his pension papers are handed over to him. In between, throughout his career, all his promotions are controlled by CABS. All his transfers are controlled by CABS. All his records of performance are maintained by CABS. And that was what we were tasked to automate. It took a long time. Probably we completed halfway through, and the fresh batch took on from then on. I was moved from CABS to Naval Headquarters. By then, I had become a lieutenant commander, that is, major's rank equivalent in the Army. I went to Naval Headquarters in charge of the computer center in the personnel branch, which was automating officers' records. So then, from the sailors' records, Jayaprakash was in charge of creating an automated system for officers. Even today, we have the finest automated system in the officers' promotions. All records of officers are presented to the promotion board on screen today and on terminals. And the promotion board takes a decision based on the input on the screen. That is the level of automation in personnel records in the Navy. By then, I had finished, this was the year 1986. That means I had spent 17 years in the Navy. I was due for the first select list rank. By the way, in the armed forces, every rank doesn't come to you automatically. Up to the rank of lieutenant commander, you get promoted. One gets promoted on time. Some get promoted faster based on the performance in the initial courses. Let's say, like you get a first class, you move fast. So, 16 years plus, I was due for my commander's rank. I was cleared to become a commander, and then another surprise came. My name had been forwarded to Ministry of External Affairs because they wanted some people with IT experience to manage the computer center at London in the High Commission. I was told that my name had been forwarded. The beauty was, you go as a diplomat. I was fortunate that I had the diplomatic privilege, and I was posted to High Commission of India at London. Initially, I was managing the procurement portion of the software, and the computer center managed the whole show of procurement of the Indian Army, Navy, Air Force, from the Royal Navy, the armed forces of the British government. My predecessor had commenced work on visa management software. In 1986, no visa system by any country was fully automated. The first country to automate a visa management system was Australia. And my predecessors had interacted with the Australian mission, had commenced bit of work on visa software. So this system we introduced in the High Commission of India at London in 1987 February. We were the second country to automate visa management online, in a way, in 1987. Only at one center, High Commission of India at London. Our missions, our embassies elsewhere were still operating on manual system. Like if somebody went to our embassy at Washington, your application would be checked manually and a visa would be issued or rejected. But in the High Commission of India at London, it was automated in 1987. The system ran wonderfully well. My High Commissioner and Deputy High Commissioner were happy. In fact, later on, Salman Haider was my Deputy High Commissioner. I was directly answerable to him. He became the Foreign Secretary of our country. So then, I stayed over 3 years, came back home, back to the Navy in 1990, January. I was posted to Directorate of Management Systems. That was a terminology given to the directorate, which basically catered for IT services in the Navy, which was not connected with the operational IT of the Navy. Please understand, there are two kinds of IT services. One which caters for materials management, personnel management, healthcare management, and so on. The other thing is management of IT services on board ships for fighting a war. So therefore, the Directorate of Management Services catered for non-war related or ship related functions in the Navy. I was posted as a Deputy Director, clearing the projects, get government approvals, float tenders, purchase systems, get the systems installed in various organizations of the Indian Navy across the country. I did my 2 years there. By then I was due for my next promotion. Now, Commander runs the race to become a captain. Captain of the Indian Navy is not equivalent to Captain of the Army. Captain of the Indian Navy is a senior rank. It is equivalent to that of a full colonel, not a lieutenant colonel, full colonel. It's one of those privileges. And normally, about 20% of the Navy, 15 to 20% of the naval officers, and same equivalent in the Army or Air Force, don the rank of captain and equivalent. The Navy's rank is captain, the Air Force it is group captain, and in the Army it is a full colonel. 91, my board was held. I was cleared to become a captain. And 92, I was asked to go and do a course which was meant for senior officers, and I joined long defense management course at College of Defense Management at Secunderabad. During that course, one of the admirals who was in the logistics branch, he came to CDM, that is College of Defense Management, for a lecture. I knew him very well. Throughout my service, I had crossed his path at least half a dozen times. And he had a chat with my commandant at CDM. He called me and he said, Jayaprakash, I want you to, when you finish the course, you are going to be appointed to a logistics project. You are going to head that project. Are you willing to take over the responsibility? Who will say no? If somebody is giving you something on a platter, you can only dream of such opportunities. That is how I became the project manager for development of software for an integrated logistic management system for the entire Navy, which meant software to be written by a team of naval officers who will be headed by me, who will spend their time in Bombay, Visakhapatnam, Cochin, New Delhi, and at Andaman Nicobar Islands. Develop a software, put total inventory on computers, create systems for procurement, planning for procurement, distribution of inventory to the ships and establishments of the Indian Navy, which were numbering over 200 those days. And also supply a software for the ships and establishment to demand online. The task given was there should be no paperwork in the Indian Navy. Everything should be online. The only paperwork would be when you place an order for an outside agency to procure an item. It was a fascinating project. I had 15 young officers with me. The first service to take on logistics management development software amongst the three services. You see, in the armed forces, after 3 years, you take things for granted. So the system moves you out of the job so that you can start afresh in the new job. So I was moved out from the project to Naval Dockyard at Mumbai. Naval Dockyard at Mumbai is it has a history of over 200 years. The shipbuilding activity in the country commenced 200 years ago in Naval Dockyard at Mumbai, which was a civil organization. And with the Britishers, there was a naval establishment established, a dockyard established in Mumbai, which is called Naval Dockyard, Mumbai. I went as a deputy general manager in charge of IT services as well as HR. You see now, a person who started teaching goes into a ship, teaches on board a ship, comes out of it, comes into IT services, looking after sailors and officers' personnel systems, gets an opportunity to develop a visa system in the High Commission of India, comes back, does a management course, becomes the team leader as a project manager for development of logistics management. So, the challenges are plenty in the armed forces. You don't know what will happen next week because the job, your career might take you to a new place, to a new establishment. I will take you back to my ship time as a young lieutenant of 3 years service. The Indian Meteorological Department people were coming for doing some experiment at sea, and our ship was tasked to take them to sea. And they were supposed to launch balloons with some equipment connected on the balloons every morning and evening and take some readings. What readings they were taking, I didn't know. The day we sailed out, all 4 scientists were down. They were seasick. So they would tell me, JP, why don't you launch the balloon here? So I launched the balloon. They said, this is how you take the readings. I took the readings. I didn't know anything about meteorology. But you carried out the task depending on the advice given to you by the Met Department personnel. Where is the link? I am not a Met officer. I don't know anything about meteorology, but I still took some readings. I did some work for the meteorology department. So that is how you don't know what is coming in the next day. See the broad spectrum of work one does. Now, to again bring it to a logical conclusion, I was transferred out of Dockyard in 97 to Naval Headquarters. My appointment letter said Directorate of Information Technology. I had not heard of Directorate of Information Technology as a directorate in the Navy. I didn't know. So I asked someone, sir, which is this directorate? I have not heard of its name. He says, he found out and let me know. He said, JP, you are the first director of IT. It's a new directorate which has been constituted. So you are going to be in charge of all IT services of the Indian Navy. There I went, 97, as director of IT services, which meant controlling all IT projects of the Indian Navy.
That is so amazing to hear, sir. I'm sure many people listening to this podcast would love to know how to join the armed forces, what it is like in the armed forces. And I think your answer gave us a very nice insight into the career trajectory of an armed forces officer. Sir, is there any advice that you would like to give to students in UVC or any other college who aspire to join the armed forces?
Armed forces is commitment to work. Armed forces is not about giving orders and taking orders. Armed forces is not an yes man's field. Armed forces is doing your work, don't ask for any favors. You might get promoted, you might not get promoted. You might get recognition, you might not get recognition. But if you do hard work, recognition comes on your way. Let me tell you, as a technical officer, if you join as a technical officer, as an electrical officer, as an electronics engineer, you will not face anywhere in the world so much of challenges in handling technology, because technology keeps changing in the Navy and you will be handling cutting edge technology, whether it is Army, Navy or Air Force, in different proportions. The way to join armed forces is by writing an entrance exam, and just writing an exam is not the end. You have to go through a services selection board. Even in our days, we went through services selection board. The services selection board looks at if you are joining as an officer, of course, the graduates would be joining as officers. They would look for your leadership qualities, your psychological frame of mind, physical efficiency, how well you are physically structured, built. The pass percentage is, even till today, it's hardly about 2%. So out of 100 candidates who go to SSB, 2 people come out as victors. So it's not easy selection. It's a very strict selection process. But then you have to be committed to serving the armed forces. Once you join, you lose your birthright to quit. In the CV streets, you can tell your boss, I'm not coming to office tomorrow. When you join the armed forces, you jolly well come to office tomorrow. You have a right to resign, but that resignation has to be accepted and you have to be permitted to leave. You cannot quit. But life is tough. At the same time, you will never make such friends in the civil world, let me tell you. We were a group of officers in 1975 in that electrical establishment at Jamnagar who served between 1975 and 1976. 2 years. 25 of us are in a WhatsApp group. We wish each other's birthday, each other's spouse's birthday. We bother about our children, their children, our grandchildren and their grandchildren. We are still a family of 25 bachelors who are there in Jamnagar, 25 sets of grandparents today. How many friends you continue to be friends when you are working in an industry? How many people will be still bonded together after now 40 years? That is the armed forces for you. Once a brother officer, for life you are brothers. I don't think such kind of bonding takes place anywhere else. If it is taking place, I'm very happy.
With that, dear listener, we come to an end of this two-part episode. Thank you so much, sir, for spending time with us. It was enlightening and fascinating to hear about your journey. Let us all take the Commodore's advice and internalize it while we wait for the next episode of UVC Chronicles. Until then, bye-bye.